said, we want you to come, but we have to wait until spring break. Now, this was the beginning of the Jewish New Year, and then we were in Israel. We had to decide what we're doing. So didn't know what to do. So when the chassid doesn't know what to do, what do? There's one thing you do. You sit down and you write a letter to the Rebbe. Now, after the Rebbe's passing, you can't physically send it to the Rebbe to read and receive an answer, like I did when I was when I was 17, and then I had a doubt whether to remain in yeshiva in Morristown or to go back to Israel, and the Rebbe instructed me to stay and continue my studies in New Jersey. I guess the Rebbe saw that my future is here in United States, but then I couldn't ask. So I wrote down a letter to the Rebbe, and I sent it to be read on the Rebbe's resting place, because again, the communicating with the Rebbe's soul, and the Rebbe said after his father-in-law passed that you could still write to the Rebbe, you could still connect with the Rebbe, and the Rebbe will find a way to answer. So I said, I follow that. And then a few days later, I received a call from Rabbi Biston, who tells me, you know what, they want you to come in spring break, but you need to decide what to do now. If you're going to start a job in Israel, you're going to have to be there all year. So why don't you come to me? Come where I need someone to learn, to read the Torah, and to give a class. So he says, move to Parkland, and you live I'll give you a house and a car. The rest you on your own. And you'll give a class for me, you'll read the Torah, and you'll start traveling from South Florida to Panama City Beach, and you'll see if it works, and then you'll eventually move there. So I said to my wife, you see, here is the first answer we see from the Rebbe. I wrote a letter to the Rebbe, not knowing what to do, saying to the Rebbe that the people want us to come only in spring break, and you know what to do, you're kind of stuck. And the answer came a few days later when Rabbi Biston called me and said, offer the solution. So as the Rebbe said, the Rebbe will find a way to answer, and he answered our question. So, however, we had to put some money to buy tickets, and we had to put some money to start living there. And we didn't have the money, that type of money to do it. So what we did, my wife and I, we took our wedding money and we put aside to buy furniture to the house. And we said, we're going to start with this money. So we bought tickets, we moved to Parkland, and we started our travels to Panama City. It was right before the high holidays. We landed in South Florida. We stopped by the Rebbe in New York, and then we went to Parkland. And during Sukkot, we took our first trip to Panama City to visit the community there. We took a pickup truck. We built a sukkah on the back of the pickup truck, and And then we took a trip. We took a trip to Panama City with the sukkah in the back, driving 70, 80 miles an hour with the sukkah in the back of a pickup truck. It has to be a very stable sukkah. You got to stop a few times in the way to fix this, to tie the schach. Okay, we had a nice visit there. On the way back from the visit, we decided we're going to stop by in Tallahassee. My wife had a cousin who went to law school, and we said we're going to stop by and visit him. Stop by. I'm going to tell my wife, let's go into the Capitol. Let's go and see the governor. Back then it was Governor Jeb Bush. So we stopped by with our pickup truck in the sukkah in the Capitol, and we walk over to the governor's office, and there was a nice lady sitting in the receptionist. And, I'm like a real Chabad Chassid, or maybe a bit naive, come to the receptionist and said, oh, we're here to see the governor. Yeah, of course. Yeah, invited, we have an appointment. Yeah. She is politely trained to deal with people like me. She opened up the governor's book, and nicely told me governor is in South Florida. that, how can I help you? So I asked her, can you please tell me if there's anybody else Jewish in the building? And this is, we're talking about a building which is 22 stories, very tall building. Today, I don't know if I would walk there and say, tell me if anyone else Jewish in the building. But back then, as I said, maybe a bit naive, but also had a lot of chutzpah. And I said, obviously, anybody Jewish in the building? And to my surprise, he said, yes, I actually know a very nice lady. And I think she'd be interested to see you. So he picks up the phone and he calls this lady. Her name is Karen Unger. And she comes down. And apparently she was connected with Chabad in Fort Lauderdale. And she was very close with Governor Bush. So I tell her about our plans. And I asked her if she want to come to the sukkah outside, in the parking lot to make the blessing over the lulav and etrog. So she said, yes, I'm very excited. I want to do it. Give me a second. I want to call my husband to join me. My husband worked at the law firm downtown, and they both came to the sukkah and made the blessings. Making a long story short, this is what started, this chutzpah, and this act of chutzpah was the one that started our relationship here with the government and with the governor's office when we eventually came to Tallahassee. Okay. Forward 6 months later, we actually 5 months later, we had a few trips to Panama City, and we decided that Panama City Beach is not the place where we want to raise family, and the community there is also not actually ready for a rabbi. So we decided that we're going to move to Tallahassee. We didn't know anyone in Tallahassee, and but we thought, Tallahassee as the capital, Tallahassee as the college, which I'm sure that Tallahassee could use a Chabad house. So my wife and I went to visit, and we're looking for an apartment to rent. So we are staying in a hotel on Appalachia Road, and right next to the Best Buy and Office Depot there. And we're starting our tour of looking for apartment. And I turned my eyes to God and I said, God, I really am not sure what I'm doing here. Nobody invited me to come here. I don't know anything about this place. Would you please give me a sign that Tallahassee is the place where, where my thought, where my soul begins? Because it says steps of man are directed by Hashem. And whatever you are guided is because Hashem put you there. In a Neshama, your soul has a connection. So I said, how do I know? The Rebbe is not physically alive. I can't ask him. Not like it used to be before the Rebbe passing, where the Rebbe would turn to people, people would ask the Rebbe, how could they, if they should go here, if they should go there, and the Rebbe would give them a blessing, clear blessing. Here I said, how do I know that this is my place? And if this is not my place, maybe it's a mistake. So we're going to the first apartment complex of Appalachia, of Blairstone, and we're walking into the leasing office. And the guy who was sitting in the leasing office takes us around, then we come back to the office and we talk to him. We find out that he's Jewish. So we tell him, we're planning to come to Tallahassee to open up a Chabad house. So he turns to me and says, wow, I said, what a coincidence. Says, I just spoke to my mother yesterday, and my mother told me that I have to start getting involved, I have to be more involved in my Yiddishkeit, I have to go to the synagogue, and you're coming today, you told me you're going to open up a synagogue here. So I said to myself, okay, here is a sign. He just talked to his mother yesterday, we come today to look for an apartment, he's looking for a synagogue. So I got my son, thank you, Hashem. I know I'm at the right place. So we continue, but we didn't like the place. Spoke to my wife's cousin, and we said, you know what? I asked him, where are there nice places to rent houses? So he says to me, listen, just drive down Monroe Street, make a right on John Knox Road where the Tallahassee Mall is, and there's some nice apartment complex. So we do that. We didn't know nothing about Tallahassee. We didn't make any research about how many Jews there. we just know that we need to move to Tallahassee. And we went to that first apartment complex we saw, and we went into the office and we signed a lease and we rented an apartment. We go back for next month. We go back to Parkland a month later. We pack our stuff on a U-Haul. We had like an old car that Rabbi Biston gave us. We towed the car, and in the back of the car, there was a small ark with a Torah. You know, I was sure, no doubt, I'm coming to Tallahassee, we're opening up a shul, so we need a Torah. You know, we're going to start a minyan right away. So I had a lot of dreams and a lot of chutzpah, and, you know. So we go in the truck, my wife, I'm driving, my wife's sitting next to me, and our baby, our 6-month-old baby is next to us in the front, and we're driving, and in the back of the car, there's this little thing covered in a white tablecloth, on a talis. Actually, it looked like, you look at it from the outside, it looked like maybe a funeral, carrying a body or something like that. It didn't look very, but we went and we traveled. We ended up in Tallahassee, and we come into the apartment complex, but we had a little bit of a problem, because when we left Parkland, we had some people that helped us load the truck, but when we ended up in Tallahassee, we didn't know anybody here. So there was some one or two pieces of furniture that were a little heavy that we had to take off the truck. So I was just walking down the apartment complex, and I was looking at around, and I found some people. I asked them, "You mind if you come to help me out? I'll pay you whatever, $10, $20, whatever it was. You know, I need help to unload the furniture." So the guy comes and he asks me to unload the furniture, and we're starting in Tallahassee. Back then, we didn't even have a computer. Only thing we brought with us was a typewriter that Rabbi Biston gave us, and we were sitting down. My wife was typing names of Jewish-sounding names from the phone book, and we started sending out information, putting together a mailing list. When we needed to print the flyer, we would go to the library, use the computer at the library to print the flyer. And we got a bunch of Jewish-sounding names. And the first activity we did was Purim. We did a Purim party in our townhouse, and we had over 30 people showed up. And that's basically how we started.
Oh.
So, okay, everything is good and dandy. Everything is nice. We didn't know anything about the place, but, you know, we started nicely. And we did a Pesach Seder at our home, at our townhome. And 3-4 months later, there was one little issue. You know, small issue, no big deal, that we came here with almost no money. And when we rented the apartment, we had money for 1 month rent. That's it. So the next 2 or 3 months, we someone managing with credit cards, this credit card, that credit cards, and, you know, going here, going there, figuring it out. But after 3-4 months, you know, maxed out all credit cards, and you know, it's it's a problem. We don't know many people in the community. I mean, with some people, but you can ask for support right when you come in, and you don't know really people well. So what do? So again, when the chassid has a problem, what does the chassid do? What does the chassid do when he has a problem?
Praise.
You write a letter.
First, you say l'chaim, l'chaim.
L'chaim.
L'chaim. You write a letter to the Rebbe. So this time, it was exactly 20-something, it was about 19 years ago. On this day, the 3rd of Tammuz, the Rebbe's Yartzheit was coming up. And I said, since the Rebbe's passing, I only missed 1 year after my wedding when I was in Israel that I didn't go visit the Rebbe's resting place on the day of his Yartzheit. So I said, I have to go. But there was one problem. I didn't even have one credit card that I could put a ticket on. There's nothing left in the credit cards. So trying to figure out how I'm going to go to the Rebbe and be by the Rebbe this, for the Rebbe's Yartzheit. So I figured out when I was a student in yeshiva, I would travel around to different communities to help the communities. So I would go from place to place, and I went to I used to use TWA, no longer exists, but I used to use them, and I remember I had enough miles for a ticket in TWA. There was only one problem. TWA were only flying from Tampa, and my car wouldn't even make it to Tampa. So I figured out I'm going to pay for a ticket, but I haven't figured out how I'm going to go to Tampa. So there was one student that we knew here, and would come to us, and I asked him if I could borrow his car to drive to Tampa. So he said, okay, took his car, and I drove his car to Tampa, and I went to visit the Rebbe's resting place. And in my mind, I have a very clear thing that I need to ask the Rebbe for a blessing, that if we were going to stay in Tallahassee, that we need a miracle. I need a miracle. I can't come back without a miracle, or we could just leave Tallahassee. So I write my note, and I go into the Rebbe's gravesite, to the Rebbe's resting place, and on the way out of the Chabad house that they have there, going towards the Rebbe's resting place, there I met somebody who was coming out of the Rebbe's resting place, somebody that I knew from the time that I was in yeshiva in Miami, and he asked me, Rabbi, how are you doing? And I said, I'm doing great. Everything is going very well, except that we have a problem. We need money to to continue. So he asked me, what do you need? So why are you asking? He said, because I just left the Rebbe's gravesite. I just left the Rebbe's resting place. And usually on such a day like the Rebbe's Yartzheit, a very holy day, a very special day, you take upon yourself a resolution to do something in Jewish life. And I took upon myself to help out new Chabad rabbis that go out to new communities. And you were the first rabbi I meet when I leave the Rebbe's resting place, and you tell me about the situation. It's a sign for me that I need to help you. So what are you trying to tell me? What is your basic monthly expenses that you need in order to continue? So I tell him, he says to me, okay, I got you covered for the first year. I said, wow, this is a miracle, That's what I came here for, to tell the Rebbe that I can't come back without a miracle. And that was, for me, more than just a miracle that enabled us to continue to be in Tallahassee, but for me, it was a clear sign. The Rebbe, until then I had doubts in my mind whether the Rebbe wants us to be in Tallahassee. I don't know. I guess we went to Tallahassee, nobody sent us. We just found the place, we figured out the place could use a Chabad house. We know the Rebbe wants Chabad houses. We know the Rebbe wants us to prepare ourselves for the coming of Mashiach, to prepare the world for the coming of Mashiach. So we're going to go to Tallahassee. But I do know that really that's what the place of the Rebbe wants. I had some doubts how we're going to succeed here. If I would know that the Rebbe wants us here, then I know for sure that we'll succeed. But how do I know? And this for me was a clear sign that the Rebbe says, this is your place. This is your mission. This is where your soul belongs. And, go there. So that was, the first major miracle that happened to us at the beginning of our Chabad house, the beginning of our mission here, that told me that even after the Rebbe's passing, that the Rebbe is looking over us, the Rebbe is guiding us, and you have a problem, you write to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe listens, and the Rebbe hears, and the Rebbe share his blessing with you.
All right, then I'm not. Okay. I'll put everything.
Okay. The Rebbe listens, and the Rebbe hears us, and all you have to do is just lie down and connect with the Rebbe. When you do what the Rebbe wants, the Rebbe will guide you, the Rebbe will direct you, and the Rebbe will bless you. And since then, we are every step of the way that we have here in Tallahassee, we have seen tremendous blessings and guidance and directions from the Rebbe that really is directing us and guiding us. Whatever there was an issue, whatever there was a problem, you would write to the Rebbe and the problem would be resolved. So after moving to Tallahassee, we had a problem. The problem was that there was no mikveh in Tallahassee. And for a Jewish family, for a husband and a wife to live together, you need to have a mikveh for family purity purposes. And the woman needs to go to the mikveh. And every time we needed to use a mikveh, we had to travel 4 hours to Orlando late at night. And you can't go, a woman cannot use the mikveh before it's dark. And so, especially the summer hours, would be only 9 o'clock. So if you would go back to Tallahassee, you would get back at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So we, a lot of times what we did, we just spend the night there in a hotel and then drove the next morning. So we realized, as the Rebbe said, that when you first come to town, the first thing you need to do is build a mikveh. So 3 years, so a year after we moved to Tallahassee, we realized first that the area where we were was a very good area. That's why we want to purchase a house. So a year later, we purchased a house with the help of my wife's grandparents, my in-laws, and with the help of this guy that I met in the Rebbe's graveside. We were able to purchase a house, and we did everything there. The next step was building a mikveh. 3 years later, we're finding ourselves building a mikveh. A very nice, very beautiful mikveh. Was about $150,000, and I didn't dream we could put such a project together after 3 years to move to town. But when you know that the Rebbe wants you to do something, and that's the right thing to do, you ask no questions. You first do, and then you find the way to do it. So we planned the mikveh, and we got an architect, and we got the contractor, and we started building, and with the Rebbe's blessings, we were able to build a mikveh. After 5 years that we were in Tallahassee, then the time was to buy a Chabad house, to buy a shul. Now we were running the shul out of our home, out of our private house, and it was a little bit difficult. Every holiday we would rent a hotel for the major holidays, but it was challenging, and we needed to have a permanent place for a Chabad house. So there was a lady in our Chabad house. Now she moved to South Florida. Her name is Aliana Hathaway, and she really wanted to help us to find a place. She was a little bit in real estate. So at first there was 2 places that we were looking at, and one place it was at the end. And the end of the street where we lived in Greenwood Drive, there was a building there. It was a 2 stories building, and we figured out, that would be a nice place for a Chabad house. We put a contract on the building, signed a contract, and we put a deposit down. And not that we knew yet where the money is going to come from to buy it, but as I said, Rabbi taught us sometimes you have to first do, and then you figure out where the money is going to come from. So we put a contract down, and we had I think it was 2 weeks or something like that to withdraw the contract. And the Shabbos, before, I think the week before the contract was due, before the date to change would expire, somebody whose father was a contractor, young man in town in Tallahassee, somehow ended up by us, and we took a walk after lunch. We took a walk to look at the building. So we just looking at the outside of the building. So he's looking and looking, we're looking around, and he tells me, I see that this place has a major mildew problem. I see from the structure, from the way it's built, one story was like a little below the ground, something like that. And he said, I think you're gonna run into major issues, and you should not buy that. So Baruch Hashem, the Rebbe saved us and sent us this boy that he was just there. He was just there just for that purpose. After that, we didn't see him anymore. I don't know where we came from. L'chaim. I don't know where he came from, but he saved us. Then there was another place he wanted to buy, and we pushed the lady. We pushed her. We begged her to accept the contract, and she didn't want it. Whatever, didn't work out. Finally, this lady was really wanting to find us a place, and she took a trip to the Rebbe. And in her letter at the Rebbe's the Rebbe's resting place, she wrote the letter, and she asked the Rebbe that she should be able to find us a Chabad house, a place. When she came back from the Rebbe's resting place, not too long after she came back, not too long after she came back from the Rebbe's resting place, she found a place for us where we were for.
Farbrengen.
Hi, Annie.
Shalom.
We hear you, but we can't see you. Oh, wow. You and your father, both.
Shalom.
Shalom. Ah, where are you guys? In South Florida now?
How are you, Rabbi?
Baruch Hashem, how's Yehuda doing?
Toda lael. Everything is good.
He's recovering?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. Thank God.
Baruch Hashem. Are you visiting your son?
מה קורה איתך? הכל בסדר?
Baruch Hashem, are you visiting your son or your son is visiting you? Where are you guys now?
How's your family doing?
Baruch Hashem. Yaniv, are you guys in South Florida now?
Baltimore.
Ah, Baltimore. Your father came to visit. Nice.
Yes.
So we're talking about how we building now, how we ended up buying the Chabad house on Greenwood Drive. I mean, not Greenwood Drive, on Plantation Road. The place where you used to come.
Yes, many years ago.
Exactly. Yes.
You look much younger back then.
I thought you said I'm younger now. I'm looking younger now.
How's your boy doing?
Baruch Hashem. Thank God.
Everything is good with him?
Everything is going to be good, B'ezrat Hashem. It's good and it will be better.
Amen.
יופי רב, רצינו לאחל לך שבוע טוב.
Thank you. L'chaim. It's the Rebbe's Yartzheit today, so you say l'chaim.
איפה לחיים? נעשה איתך לחיים?
הנה, לחיים.
Hi, you guys put on tefillin every day.
Every day.
L'chaim.
לחיים, Rabbi, לחיים.
You guys get the good stuff there. L'chaim.
Good to see you. We'll let you continue.
It's good to see you. L'chaim.
Take care, Rabbi.
Bye.
All right. So, Yaniv, how long ago did you finish How long ago did you finish school? When did you graduate from FSU?
From Tallahassee?
Yeah.
2001 we left.
Wow. That was like we just came in 1999. Wow.
I know.
You were one of our first.
One of the first.
Baruch Hashem. It's good to see you. L'chaim.
L'chaim, Rab. Good to see you.
So we came, so this lady found us a place on Plantation Drive, and this was actually a house that was owned by the mayor of Tallahassee back then. What was his name? Scott Maddox. And it was like 2 acres, or 3,000 square foot. And it was a major building. It was a beautiful place. And then I realized that it was such a blessing that the Rebbe saved us literally from making a mistake of buying these 2 other places that we wanted to buy. And if the Rebbe would not really literally prevent us from doing this mistake, it would be a big mistake. So basically, again, we see how the Rebbe is guiding us and directing us, and even though we were like upset and frustrated that we couldn't sign the contract in these two other places, that it was really the biggest blessings that we could possibly have. Then, before we bought the Chabad house on Plantation Drive, then we had, off Meridian Road, we had a meeting with the city, with some people in the city, and we asked them, if this place that we're going to buy, before we sign the contract, we want to know whether we're going to be able to have a Chabad house there, if the zoning, and they all said, yes, you're not going to have a problem, it's fine, it's off the main road, you should be okay. So we went ahead and purchased the place. Thank God we got a large donation. The place was, I think, about a little over $500,000. We got a large donation of $250,000 from one person. We raised a little bit more money, and then we purchased. And then we took a mortgage and we purchased the building. And this was the Chabad house where we held our services and our operation for many, many years. And however, after we moved, not too long after, we found out that there is a big problem. And the problem is that the neighbors were suing us with an attorney. They had there was some very old Tallahassee rich people who lived there. And they were suing us that we can make a Chabad house there. This is a private area. This is zoned as R1 residential, and you can have a shul there. We said to the city, what do you mean? We sat with you guys, and you said it's okay. Yeah, we got to go through all process now. We have to hire an attorney. We have to go through all zoning battle. So it came, the final thing was we had, after a long battle and attorneys and back and forth, we had two meetings. One was a planning commission meeting, and one was a commission meeting, and we had to be approved by both. We had to be approved in order to be able to have the Chabad house there. I was very frustrated. I was very down. We spent so much money. We bought the place. We met with the city first. Now all these stories happening. Came the commission, the planning commission's on meeting, and the neighbors all came very prepared, attacking us right and left, coming up with all type of claims that were not true and all type of things that we didn't know where they were coming from. And they said, and the decision was to deny us from having the Chabad house there. So we lost the battle there. I was so frustrated and I was so down after this. I wrote a letter to the Rebbe, and I sent it to be read on the Rebbe's gravesite, and I put it in one of the Rebbe's books. Rebbe has 32 or more volume of books of letters that he wrote to many people in all areas of life from all of his years in leadership. Not all the letters, but many of them are collected and I put together there. And every time I have a problem in my life and I want to know what the Rebbe's answer is, I sent a letter to be read in the Rebbe's resting place, and I put it in the book of the Rebbe's letters. Randomly, I just put it in, I open it up and I put it inside. And then I open up the book. Many people do that, find a way of communicating with the Rebbe now. And the letter that comes out, and that random page that you open, you look at the letter there and you see if there's any answer to your question. And miraculously, many, many times, you get a direct answer to your question. It's just like the Rebbe is writing it today. Just the Rebbe is communicating with you today. And the Zohar says that a tzaddik, after his passing, is more alive than now he is during his lifetime. During the Rebbe's lifetime, you would have to write a letter to the Rebbe. You have to wait for an answer. Here now, you don't even wait for an answer. You put it in the Rebbe's book, you open up the book, and there's an answer. And many, many times over the last 20 years we're in Tallahassee, every time we have an issue, we have a problem, whether it's personal, whether it's Chabad house, I do the same thing, and there's amazing, amazing letters and answers from the Rebbe, like it's written to my specific situation. So like I said, When a chassid has a problem, what he does is sit down right to the Rebbe. It's not just a chassid, every Jew, because the Rebbe is a general soul. The Rebbe is like the head, and every Jewish person generation is part of the Rebbe's neshama, it's part of the Rebbe's soul. So everyone can be connected with the Rebbe, because the Rebbe is connected with everybody. So I wrote to the Rebbe about this planning board meeting, and how frustrated I was. And I received a letter from the Rebbe. The letter that I open up, the Rebbe says that there is a concept. It's called Hasidic concept of called understanding and knowing that whatever Hashem is doing is good. There's nothing in the world that Hashem is doing that it's not good. And if we know and believe that it's good, but not just knowing that it's good, but bringing it from our mind to the heart, because there's one way, which is you know that it's good, you believe that it's good. But there's another way, is internalizing that it's good. Because sometimes, even if you know that everything that Hashem is doing is good, but something happens to you that is not good, and you're not so happy with that, then you feel frustrated, you feel upset, even though you know it's good, it must be good, but you feel unhappy. And the Rebbe writes in the letter, the Rebbe says that you have to realize that this concept, that everything that Hashem is doing is for good, it's a concept that you have to internalize it, not just know that, believe that, but internalize it, bring it down to the heart, so you really be happy and feel happy. And as soon that you're going to be happy and really understand that this is good, you'll also see the good in it. So the Rebbe says, and I do, and I start to switch my brain and my mind thought and say, this must be good. The fact that we were denying in the planning commission board, it's good. And after I tell myself that it's good, and I really believe that it's good, and I really feel good about it, I said to myself, whoa, it dawned on me, oh, I get it. Now I know why it was good. Why? Because I realized what's going on here. I said, listen, this is, telling myself, speaking to myself, I said, this was the planning commission meeting. We came unprepared. We came not ready. The neighbors came ready. They attacked us. They came up with all type of claims. But this is not really the determining decision. The real determining decision is the commission meeting, the city commission meeting. And the city commission meeting is going to happen like a month or two later. I said, the fact that we lost this meeting is actually good for us. Why? Because now we know everything that the neighbors, everything they wanted to say, they already laid down. There was nothing that they put it all on the table. We didn't have much to say because we weren't prepared. Because my engineer told me, don't worry, it's going to be okay. I don't see any problems. We weren't really ready. For the next meeting, for the city commission meeting, we were so prepared and knew how to address every aspect of the neighbor's concern that we won the city commission meeting. So again, I have a problem. I write to the Rebbe. The Rebbe gives me an answer. The Rebbe gives us guidance. The Rebbe gives us directions. And then, I see that we see it in our own life. L'chaim, l'chaim. There's two more stories I want to share with you, and then we'll open it up to discussion. L'chaim. Then it comes 15 years later, and we realize that it's time to move on to buy a place closer to campus. So my wife is looking, it was around Hanukkah time. My wife told me, listen, I found this place. It's really a good place. It's a very big place. It used to be a church before. And let's go look at it. So I'm going with my wife, we're looking at the place. And the church wants, their place is listed for $1 million. Then they wanted to sell it for a while. It wasn't sold. Then they reduced the price to $900,000. My wife told me, let's sign a contract on that and buy it. I said, well, nice, but where will you put $1 million from? What would you come up with? So we decided that's the right place to do it. We need to buy it. It's a good place. I wrote a letter to the Rebbe. I got a very clear blessing and answers from the Rebbe. This is the place where we need to get. And I knew in my mind that there's no doubt that this is going to work. It says when you have belief and you have faith, and you know for sure, faith is knowing and believing that Hashem will come through to you. You know that Hashem will come through. You have no doubts that Hashem will come through. So I was 100% sure knowing that Hashem is going to come through because we have the Rebbe's blessing. So we want a negotiation with them. I offered them only $850, and my attorney says they have other people who want to buy. I told my attorney, I'm not worried. The Rebbe says that this is the place for us. This is going to be the place. We're not going to have any problems. Give him that offer and go for it. And we ended up accepting it. And Baruch Hashem, miraculously, we were able to get from one guy $500,000 donation plus $250,000 loan until we sell the old Chabad house. So we only have to come up with another $100,000 loan. And that's how we ended up buying the Chabad house. And 3 months later, after we signed the contract, we already had the Chabad house. So basically, again, like I said, miracles, miracles, miracles. We have to know there is a Moshe Rabbeinu in our generation, and we have a problem. We can write to the Rebbe, and when we live with the Rebbe, when we follow the Rebbe's instructions, when we study what the Rebbe teaches us, and we follow what the Rebbe wants us, which is to prepare ourselves, to prepare the world for the coming of Mashiach, to do one more act of goodness and kindness, to prepare ourselves and the world for Mashiach, then we are connected with the Rebbe. If we want to be connected with the Rebbe, we could be connected with the Rebbe. And I had many people in the past that thought they have no connection with the Rebbe, and they came down with the problems, and they wrote letters. They had them write down letters to the Rebbe. We sent it to the Rebbe's graveside. I took him to visit the Rebbe's resting place, and they have seen amazing, amazing miracles by visiting the Rebbe's resting place. So, like the Zohar said, that after a tzaddik passes away, he's more alive than I was even before his passing. The Rebbe is alive spiritually, but not only spiritually, the Rebbe is leading us physically in our life. We have problems, we have issues. We can write to the Rebbe, we can ask the Rebbe for blessings, and along with taking resolutions in our life to increase our connection to Hashem, we need a Rebbe to help us to connect to Hashem. And the Rebbe helps us to have more love and more awe of Hashem. Just like Moshe Rabbeinu connected the Eden with Hashem, the Rebbe in our generation, the Moshe Rabbeinu of our generation, he's connecting us with Hashem. So l'chaim, we should have the ability to, to be good messengers of the Rebbe, to share light to the world, to do one more act, one more mitzvah, whether it's putting tefillin, whether it's lighting Shabbat candles, reaching out to another Jew, helping another Jew. The Rebbe said that every Jew has a spark of Yiddishkeit burning inside himself. You only have to ignite the spark, and let us come out from tonight's Farbrengen to realize that Hashem is there for us, and Hashem sent us the Rebbe, and miracles happen. Miracles will continue to happen. The fact that we see the world the way it is today, and with all of its challenges and all the darkness that is there, it doesn't mean that the world is a jungle. The Rebbe said the world is not a jungle. That Hashem is directing the world. And now that's the way Hashem wants it to be. We don't know how, why, what. But we know that if Hashem put us in this generation, we know that Hashem put us in this time, Hashem give us the strength to be able to carry through with preparing ourselves and preparing the world for Mashiach. And it's come through increasing, doing one mitzvah at a time, whether it's giving tzedakah, having a tzedakah box at our home and putting a coin into charity, whether having mezuzah on our door, or laying tefillin, or study more Torah like we get here on Zoom every week, and we have the classes on Monday night and Wednesday nights and Thursday nights. And when we increase in goodness and kindness, we make the world a better place of being Mashiach. L'chaim, l'chaim. Please unmute yourself and feel free to share with us any thoughts, any questions, anything on your mind. Aniel, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
I was in DC today, you know.
Today?
Yeah, I started in my flight from Tallahassee to from New York to Tallahassee. It stopped in DC.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say now it's not the right time to just.
Come to DC.
I got out of DC.
Oh, really?
I'm in Boca.
Oh, nice. Very
Yeah.
nice. Okay, good.
Yeah.
You're working from home?
Yeah, I'm working for my parents' place.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, DC is crazy. New York is crazy. You know, a lot of people want to move from New York to Florida.
Ron Crudo, his wife, works for her dad, and he has a company. They sell trailer parks, and she said that lots of New Yorkers are trying to get out and buy trailers and move to Florida.
Yeah, I heard they're in Tampa. They're looking to open up a whole community there in Tampa.
Yeah.
They're looking in Orlando and Tampa to.
Yeah. What was the book that, or I remember I was at the OHEL and there was it was probably just a book of letters. I don't remember which one specifically, but somebody was just asking people to ask a question, and then they would just open the.
Right. It's called Igrot Kodesh. Igrot Kodesh.
Someone also said that to me once, but just with like a chumash also about like something, if you ask a question or something you're struggling with, and just open up the chumash, and whatever's the first line or the first pasuk is, what's a way to do it? What's a way to do something like this if you're just at home? You're not at OHEL, you're not you don't have a.
You write a letter and you send it out. It can be sent out by email. You put it on you put it in the Rebbe's book, so you can do it through a Chabad rabbi, a local Chabad rabbi, whether it's through me or through whatever, and then you get one of the Chabad rabbis to help you out with translating the letter and helping you how to write it. Typically, when you write a letter, you accept upon yourself a resolution to increase in do another good deed, another mitzvah, and then you're gonna have certificate. You need the help of a rabbi to be able to help you to put it in the book and translate the letter. Although there are those books in English too. You have some books in English too with the rabbi's letters, and so that you could get and do on your own. But typically, as I said, usually it's the best to do it to a rabbi.
Right.
So, Rabbi.
Yes.
Forgive my ignorance here. Would it be if the coming of the is it the rabbi or is his father-in-law the Mashiach?
Oh, you're asking some good questions. You gotta say more l'chaim before you ask such questions.
Chaim.
L'chaim. Yeah, l'chaim. So the Rebbe asked once the Rebbe, who is the Mashiach? The Rebbe said it's not important to know who is Mashiach. It's important to know the Mashiach is coming and to get ready and to do one more mitzvah. Mashiach will come. Everybody will know who is Mashiach. So if you're asking me, then you open up every generation as the Mashiach of that generation. What does it mean? That if Hashem chooses to send Mashiach in that generation, the leader of that generation will be Mashiach. So in the Talmud, you find some students that are talking about their Rebbe, and they said that their Rebbe is Mashiach. The student of Akiva said he was the Mashiach. So it's not Maimonides. In the last chapter in Maimonides, last two chapters in Maimonides gives a very clear description of who is Mashiach. What do you have to find? Like, how do you define what Mashiach is? So Maimonides says, like, what qualities you need to look for Mashiach. Maimonides says like this. Maimonides says, so how do you know it's Mashiach? Let's see. I'm going to give you a very clear definition. It says like this: if a king will arise from the house of David, okay, number one, he has to be a descendant of King David. Okay, the Rebbe was a descendant of King David. The Rebbe did come from, there is a tree, family tree, the Rebbe does come from the tree of David.
Is there still a current descendant from the King of David?
If there's, I'm sure there is, I don't know about anybody, but once you see what the qualification of the Rambam, you can see yourself, ask yourself a question if you know about anybody in this generation, it's like that. So that's what's number one. Now, one thing is to be from the King of David, who is learned in Torah and observant of the mitzvot as prescribed by the written law and the oral law, as David, his ancestor, was. Guys, that's one thing. Second thing is, and will compel all Israel to walk in the ways of the Torah and reinforce the breaches in its observance. So somebody that will compel the people, will basically get the people to come closer to Torah and to mitzvot. Again, there was nobody like the Rebbe who got the whole Jewish world, more than the Jewish, a lot of the Jewish world to come closer to Torah and to mitzvot. So you will see, you have to be a king who's from the house of David to compel all the Jewish people to do Torah and mitzvot. Okay, so these two conditions exist by the Rebbe. So if I look at my mind and I want to say who is Mashiach in our generation, who could be Mashiach in our generation? Okay, one thing I have with the Rebbe is from David. Second thing is he compel people to, he convince people, is he inspired the world, study Torah and do mitzvot, still does. And fight the wars of God. There was so many wars of God on the history that the Rebbe fought, whether it's not giving back land, whether it's, the Jewish people coming out of Russia and so on and so forth. We may, with assurance, consider him the Mashiach. So what the Rambam said, he can be considered as Mashiach. It's not that he is Mashiach, but he could be considered Mashiach. One time, like the Rebbe's secretary told the Rebbe, they're telling about you that you're Mashiach. The Rebbe said, they haven't revealed that to me from heaven. Meaning is, potentially the Rebbe could be Mashiach, but until from heaven they reveal that he's Mashiach, until Mashiach comes and build the temple and gather the Jewish people from all over the world, then it's not Mashiach. And it could be Mashiach. Potentially it could be Mashiach. So in our generation, and then the Rambam said, if he succeeded in build the temple and gather the Jewish people, then he's surely Mashiach. So basically, what Maimonides says, give you a very clear definition of who is Mashiach, who could be Mashiach. But again, the point is not who could be Mashiach. The point is to know that we live in a generation of Mashiach. Our generation is a generation of Mashiach. We are in 5780. It's the end of the 6th millennium. That's the time when Mashiach is supposed to come, according to our calculation. It's a very interesting teaching in the Talmud. The Talmud says that Mashiach will come. Let's go back to the Exodus, because it says that the coming of Mashiach will be very similar to the Exodus. What happened during the Exodus? Moshe went to Egypt. Moshe went to the Jewish people in Egypt. He said, Hashem has sent me to get you out of exile, to let you know that you're coming out of exile. And what happened after that? Not only the Jewish people didn't go out of exile, but Pharaoh had made it even worse for the Jewish people. Until then, the Egyptians provided the straw for them. They had to build the bricks. After Moshe came and said, you're going out of Egypt, God sent me to tell you, Pharaoh made it worse. Now they had to collect the straw themselves. The Jewish people came to Moshe Rabbeinu and complained and said, why did you come here? To make us problem? You said, Mashiach is coming, Hashem takes us out of exile. Now, not only that Pharaoh didn't send us out of here, he made it worse for us. So there's that concept that Mashiach will come, and then he will be concealed from us, and then it will be more difficult, more challenging. And this is the way that God is testing us, and God is refining us and preparing us for the coming of Mashiach. So the Rebbe told, prepare the world for the coming of Mashiach. Absolutely, clearly the Rebbe prepared the world for the coming of Mashiach. We're sending out emissaries all over the world, all corners of the earth, reaching out to every Jew in the furthest corners of the earth. The Rebbe had prepared the world for the coming of Mashiach. Absolutely, clearly, no question asked. But, and the Rebbe came, and the Rebbe said, as a prophecy to the world, the Mashiach is coming. This is the generation of Mashiach. The Mashiach is coming. Because it says God created the world in 6 days. Every day of God is 1,000 years. It says in Tehillim, Ki 1,000 years. So you is like 1 day. So our rabbis tell us that Hashem created the world in 6 days. Every day is 1,000 years. So the world will exist for 6,000 years. And the 7th, the world will be destroyed. 7th millennia, the 7,000, the world will be destroyed. What does it mean that the world will be destroyed? We're not meaning that the world will physically be destroyed. We don't believe in that. What it means is that the world that we know and how we know it will be destroyed. Meaning that everything we know about the world today, with the evil that there is in the world, with the darkness that there is in the world, is going to be destroyed. It's not going to exist anymore. We won't know it anymore. It won't exist anymore. We'll have a completely different world, a completely new world, a world that we don't know, a world that we don't recognize. Because of the goodness that will be in the world, we don't know what is a world without evil look like. Because we have evil in our life, we have evil in the world, we are surrounded by darkness, the world is full of darkness. That's the world we know of. Do you think that God had in mind for the world to be the way it is now? With all of its problems and all of the challenges that there is out there? That's not what God meant for our world to be. So the 7th millennia and the 7,000 years, the world will be completely a different world. Something that we don't know. We won't know how it is. And that's why it says in the 7th millennia, the world will be destroyed. I mean, physically, the way we know it, it will be destroyed. I mean, not physically. The way we know it, it will be destroyed. It will be a different world. However, that will be the time when we get the reward. Before that, we have the days of Mashiach, what we call Yemot HaMashiach. Mashiach is coming in the end of the 6th millennia. When is the end of the 6th millennia? The end of the 6th millennia is now. We are in 5,780 years. The Rebbe once said, it's like the eve of Shabbos after midday. The eve of Shabbos after midday, you get ready for Shabbos. Shabbos is coming, everybody's prepared, you're busy. We are in the eve of Shabbos after midday. Why? Because we are in the 6th millennia. We are after the second half of the 500. So we are on the 6th day, in the 6th millennia, after the first 500. We're in the second 500, towards the end of the 500. This is the days of Mashiach. This is when Mashiach will come. Then the Rebbe passed away. And the Rebbe was concealed from us. And we see the world more challenges and more challenges, become crazier and darker. That's part of the test. It's just the same thing that happened when the Jewish people left Egypt. Moshe came and said, Mashiach is coming, get ready, this is that. Paro made it worse for them. Then everything started to unfold, Mashiach is coming. Now,
Rabbi, what's the difference between the Mashiach and Moses? Because didn't Moses also have a connection with God, that he could talk to God, and he communicated with him?
So it's an interesting question you're asking, Yod, because when Hashem asked Moshe Rabbeinu to send the Jewish people out of Egypt, Moshe didn't want. God had to convince him for like 7 days in the burning bush. He had to talk to them and convince them. Why Moshe didn't want to send them? Why didn't Moshe want to send Mashiach? So why didn't Moshe want to redeem the Jewish people? Moshe told Hashem Shlach na bayat tishlach. Send in the end whom you will send. Who is that? He said, Moshe tell Hashem, why are you sending me to redeem them? I am not going to be Mashiach. I'm not going to be the last redeemer. There's going to be a different redeemer. So why are you sending me? Send Mashiach. Hashem said, no. You are now going to be sent. You are sent to redeem the Jewish people, and then there'll be Mashiach. So yes, Moshe was the Mashiach of his generation. And actually, something very interesting the Rebbe says about Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't go to Israel. Moshe Rabbeinu ended up passing in the desert. And the Rebbe said this is showing the great leadership of Moshe. That Moshe didn't leave his people, didn't abandon his people in the desert and said, you guys are staying here, I'm going to Israel. What will happen when Mashiach comes? Who will take care of them? Who will bring them out of there? The Rebbe said, no, Moshe remained with his followers, with the Jewish people who died in the desert. He remained there in the desert. And this is the concept that the shepherd does not leave his people. The Rebbe was talking about it when he was talking about how the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe passed away and was buried in the United States, and he was not sent to be buried in Israel. And the Rebbe is also be buried in outside of Israel. It's to be able, it's like Yaakov. It's like to be able to be there for them. And I'll give you an example. When you go to the Rebbe's oil, I don't know if you ever had a chance to visit the Rebbe's resting place. When you go to visit the Rebbe's oil, you come out of there so uplifted. Somebody once told me, a friend of mine, say l'chaim first, l'chaim. What's going on with the Titos there? Still have more Titos? L'chaim.
Yeah, we got it here.
We call it Titus.
No, it's getting late for us.
Late? What are you talking about? The night just began.
I think we're gonna head off. Thank you, Rabbi.
Good to see you. L'chaim. Always good to see you. Join us on Monday night, too, whatever, anytime. Fine.
I have a question.
Hi, Sandy. How are you?
Hi, Mommy. How are you?
Baruch Hashem.
Okay. I understand the concept. I understand the meaning, not the concept of, what you're saying, that there's nothing that Hashem does that is not for the good.
Right.
And to attain that real understanding and belief is very, very deep, and it doesn't come very quick. It doesn't come naturally. I understand that. But if you attain that, if you're masterful to attain that, and if everything is for the good, then you should be walking around being happy and being content. If you have that level of understanding and believing it truthfully with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your body. So how do you know happiness if you don't know sadness? And how do you how do you walk around not looking like an idiot, just being happy all the time or being content all the time? How do you have that complete understanding of what sadness or misery and unhappiness is? Because to have one, you have to have the other. If you don't know one, then you don't know the other. You can't have happiness if you don't know what sadness is. You can't have content if you don't know what being discontent is. Do you understand what I'm saying? I know what I'm asking is a really deep question.
So what you're saying is that you have that to go through. I mean, like King Shlomo said, you understand the light out of the darkness. Like if you don't know what darkness is, then you don't appreciate the light.
Exactly.
Out of the darkness, you appreciate the light even more.
Correct. But if you have the level, if you are truly understanding and believing that nobody does, that there is, that everything is for the good, and good should eventually lead to happiness, should lead to contentness, then how I can't, I'm having trouble explaining it because it's really such a deep idea.
That's not what you're saying, but you're saying is that if you always know that everything is good, you're always happy, then you never really knew what sadness is.
No, and then you walk around looking like, you're walking around like an idiot in your own world.
Right. So there's a story about Rabbi Zusha of Anipoli that the Maggid of Mezrich sent someone to him to find out how to believe that everything is good, to learn how everything is for good. But before I get to this story, I'll tell you about this concept. It's not a simple concept. It's not an easy concept. What do I mean?
No.
There was a rabbi who was preaching to his students about thinking good and thinking now everything that Hashem is doing is good or whatever. And one time, his merchandise, the boat carrying all of his merchandise that the rabbi was doing business with, that was his sustenance for him, sank in the ocean. And the student said, who is going to be the one bearing the news to the rabbi, telling the rabbi that he's seeing that he lost all of his money? So one student said, I'm going to do that. So he comes to the rabbi and he says to him, Rabbi, didn't you teach us that the same way that a person has to make the blessing when something good's happened to him, the same way he has to make the blessing when something not good is happening to him? And he said, yes, correct. Which means that the person has to thank God for the bad, just like he has to thank God for the good, realizing it's really good. So he said, does that mean that if something not good happened to a person, you should really thank God and bless God and be happy about it? He said, yes, exactly. So he tells the Rebbe, you meaning that if a person, when something very good happens to a person, he's so happy that he starts dancing, and like you're saying, he's walking on smiling, and so that means that a person should really dance when something bad happened to him? The rabbi said, good, yes. So he tells the rabbi, then Rabbi, you can start dancing because you bought with all the merchandise was sank in the water. And the rabbi fainted on the spot. So when he got up, he said, I guess I also now really, on that level where I really, believe and know that everything that's So the Maggid message once sent his students, Rabbi Zusha of Anipoli, he sent one of his students, Rabbi Zusha of Anipoli, to learn and to understand. So he comes to Rabbi Zusha, and Rabbi Zusha was a very poor man. He lived very poorly, and he was, his children were walking barefoot, and the clothes was torn, and he told Rabbi Zusha, he was trying to figure out how he's so happy. Well, Rabbi Zusha couldn't really figure out what does he want. He said, well, what are you talking about? He said, the Rebbe sent me to learn and see how everything is good from you. He said, the Rebbe sent you to me to learn how to actually teach you how to thank God for everything that is not good, just as it's good. He said that I got nothing bad in my life. Everything is good in my life. Like for him, it was like, what are you talking about? He sent you to me, he sent you to the wrong person, and I'm not lacking anything. So obviously, it's a very high level.
I've heard this story before. Yes. Yeah, it is. It's
Danielle, you can tell her yourself. Go ahead.
No, you can tell her.
No, you go ahead and tell her. Go ahead.
No, what was she doing? What was she? She had a follow-up question?
What?
Well, I just wanted to make a comment just in addition. I'm sorry because I want to hear what you have to say. you know, like I remember when Saba got sick, and my father, and he and Tammy and Larry came, you know, almost immediately, and they were unable to stay. We knew he was going to pass, and they were unable to stay until he was passing. So they ended up staying. They were here for Shabbat, and I went to Bet Knesset, and it was the first time in that I had ever seen anything like this. And because Larry was in Bet Knesset with Rabbi Block, you know, saw the opportunity to, you know, really, you know, there was a chassid in the house, so he was able to. He was able to display what he really wanted to display, and here it was Shabbos. It was Friday night, and you know, we walked there from the hospital, and the situation was very bad, and we're welcoming in Shabbat. And what happens is Larry gets up and starts to dance with Rabbi Block, and I couldn't understand it. It made me really. I mean, here I am with my brother-in-law who has had tears in his eyes. Well, the tears have been flowing from my eyes for the past few days, and I don't understand, you know, from where he had the cough to get up and start to dance. I understood the concept, but it's such a level to attain that for Larry with tears in his eyes to, I mean, I don't know where he was able to pull it from. And I don't understand how he was able to get up and dance with and to feel joy when I know that he was feeling misery. So I don't know. So something like that, you know, for anybody, I mean, it's just that, you know, I know Larry personally, but if I would have seen it from an outside point of view, it would have been even that much harder. I really had to rely on my faith and trust in my faith to give the benefit of the doubt to my brother-in-law, a man that I love and respect very much, that he didn't go from a sitting position where he was very sad, and was he getting up and just saying, oh, I'll just do it anyway, or I'll just pretend, or I'll just fake it, or whatever, and then when the dance was finished, to go back to sitting down and to go back to davening. It's still to this day, it's something that's in my head, and it's all wrapped around the same this same thing, what you're speaking about, you know, that full, you know, I'm sorry, I won't take up more time. I know I'm talking a lot, I apologize. But I also think of, you know, when you know, with Shmuley, and when the accident happened with his eye, and how you were talking on the Zoom conversation, I also know from the backstory. You're the father. This is the mother. How can you not be off and just to rely? I try to very much understand that, especially because it's family, so I need to be more understanding how it's just it's really difficult, and that really assures me of how high of and how deep of an understanding this thought process is, and this belief is. And it's not just for Judaism. I mean, I've met a few people that are not Jewish that in times of much distress and much sadness and heart, the same thing. And it just doesn't completely connect for me. I'm done. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Listen, there's a couple different levels. You know, there's one level is where you believe in good and you think it's good. Another level, you just don't think about it. You move your mind from it. But it takes a lot of faith and a lot of learning, a lot of praying, and a lot of believing in God. But Daniel, I could tell you about the experience that he had with that. Go ahead, Daniel.
Okay, Daniel.
Well, I thought you were gonna.
Daniel, you saying l'chaim?
I don't have anything on me actually. I need to.
Got l'chaim, it's the Rebbe's.
I know. Let me get something. 1 second. 1 sec. Give me 2 seconds.
Everybody has a l'chaim. Chaim, are you saying l'chaim?
I ran
Me?
out. I ran out.
Oh, Chaim.
Oh, Chaim.
Chaim, we have Chaim here. Who is there? Chaim?
Yes, that's me, Rabbi.
So, are you having a l'chaim, Chaim?
Well, I don't drink alcohol, but I'll let you have it. I'm drinking my tea over here.
Okay, I don't see your face. I only see you.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a camera. Thank God I have a microphone.
Oh,
But we met a few times. You took care of my son. He just graduated last year, Daniel Peretz.
Okay.
You actually came with all your tribe. I don't know. I think Shmuley was very little when you did the mezuzah in tradition.
That's right.
You did the mezuzah with tradition with him. It was Friday, so you were in a rush.
That's right. He was. Yeah, that's right. No, l'chaim.
Thank you. And yeah, they're all big admirers and fans. I live next to Parkland, and you know everybody. And remember, I texted you when my brother best friends in Kiryat Tivon, Israel, is Menashe Elthois. I'm the one that sent you the picture about a year ago. Remember?
Wow.
Him sitting in.
He was my
teacher.
He was my teacher in school. All right.
Yes, very nice. He's a neighbor of my mom and excellent person. And you know the guys in Boca like Denberg and Phuket. Yeah. They're the one that married me and
wow.
Yeah, and the Chabad Israeli Center is also a big fan of yours. I tell them all you're doing.
Oh, Naftali, Rabbi Naftali.
Naftali is the one I used to be a partner in Falafel Armon many years ago.
Uh-huh.
And he used to come here and do the Torah lessons, and we got him to open the place here. Him and Henya and the rest of the group.
Beautiful.
But nice. I'm enjoying your story, especially the one how you started there and how you became the Tallahassee franchisee. Yeah, well, that's how we call it. The Chabad franchisee. They go everywhere.
Right.
You should tell it to the kids. They appreciate all the logistics and the hardship that you went through, including simple things, not like the mikveh, even getting the kosher meat and having goyim shel Shabbat and all that stuff. And I think kids will relate to him because they don't understand hard work, and you'll be able to show it to them.
You're right. Thank you. L'chaim.
I'm enjoying listening to you. If I had to say something, I would. Thank you.
L'chaim. It's night to the night. It's Yartzheit. L'chaim.
And I think Daniel is in Boca, and I don't know if Boca right now is safer than New York. It's one of the Palm Beach County is one of the epicenter right now of the whole thing. So yeah, I think we had one that is in Boca at his grandparents. I don't know who it was.
Oh. Yeah, no. You have to say l'chaim that the world should be in a much better place. But now we go with what Hashem wants. Now that's what Hashem wants is. But listen, just before Daniel goes, I want to tell you that when you go into the Rebbe's resting place, it's a great experience. You come out of there very, very uplifted. It's not like not like you're going to visit gravesite, even of parents or whatever. When you go a little sad, when you're going to visit the Rebbe, you come out a completely different person. I would highly suggest that if you ever have an opportunity, or even make it a point, an opportunity to go and visit the Rebbe's resting place in Queens and play there. It's a very, very special place. L'chaim, l'chaim.
L'chaim.
This is all Coke. This is a huge cup, but it is Coke.
Put some vodka in it.
Yeah.
Pocket orange juice.
You're over 21. You can say l'chaim.
I could. Well, I had some good wine earlier.
All right.
Gotta.
All right, Daniel.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you, Rabbi. Chaim, thank you so much for sharing all of your story tonight, and I'm so lucky that you were my Chabad rabbi in college. When I left yeshiva, when I left Israel for the year, I was on like such a high from being in Israel, and everyone thought I was crazy to go to Tallahassee for college. They said, "Oh, go to UCF, go to Gainesville, go to college in Brooklyn, go to New York. You're gonna just completely backtrack if you go to Tallahassee. There's no Jewish life there." And Rabbi Orchman and Rebbetzin Khani just really proved everybody wrong. And I think I really flourished at FSU in Tallahassee. So l'chaim to the Orchmans.
This is my wife. This is my wife's auntie. This is my wife's daughter here, Sarah Bird.
Huh?
This is my
Just
wife.
call me Sandy. Just call me Sandy.
This is my wife. This is my mother-in-law sister. Lives in
Can
Texas.
Daniel share with us when did he go to school in Tallahassee?
2009 to
Mhm.
2013.
Okay.
Yeah.
A little ahead of my boy, yes.
I graduated and then Rabbi decided to move to campus. So we just missed him. But so I guess so you're saying who is Sarah?
I'm Hannah's aunt.
Oh.
I'm the rabbi's aunt.
Okay, nice.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Texas.
His mother-in-law's sister. Yeah, I'm in Dallas. That's a hot spot.
Oh wow, great. So yeah, Rabbi's been very close to me over all these years. Got me to start keeping Shabbat, and just really had a huge impact on me, and has just always been there for me. But I think the story I asked him to share, but he told me to share was kind of obviously got me thinking from what you were sharing about sadness and happiness and what's authentic and what's fooling yourself or like looking like an idiot to other people because you're just constantly happy for maybe not the right reasons, or you have every reason to not be happy, but you still are. So about a couple of years ago, for a while, and at FSU I was in the circus. They have a circus program there, which they're well known for, and I did a lot of athletics. And over the years, I kind of developed this little issue in my shoulder that was bothering me, and I never knew what it was. For years, it was bothering me. It started acting up in like 2014, 2015, and I saw a physical therapist, and I went to all these different doctors, and just never went away. Long story short, one of the doctors I went to sent me to Johns Hopkins, and they said it was something called thoracic outlet syndrome, which is an impingement of the nerves in your shoulder region. It's where the thoracic outlet is where your nerves and arteries run through an opening called the thoracic outlet, and it goes into your arm. That's all the nerves and arteries that run in down that path. And so I just did physical therapy for that for like a year and a half, 2 years. Coming up on the holidays in 2017, it was like right before Rosh Hashanah, right before my birthday in October, and I went to see my orthopedist because it was bothering me like crazy. It was out of control. My hand was tingly. It was just a lot worse than it had been when I was doing physical therapy. And the orthopedist had me do like a little test, and he checked my pulse because that's the area where, you know, you test for blood flow, and you know you're able to gauge, you know, the doctor's able to test to gauge that. And I put my arms in the air, and as soon as I put my hand in the air and he had his hand on my wrist, he went white. He's like, your pulse just completely went away the second your hand went up. He was like, you have to have surgery as soon as possible. You know, this could be life threatening if your circulation got cut off. Like, you could get a blood clot. And he's like, it could be all over in a second. And this is like right before the Rosh Hashanah, right before my birthday. And I was really distraught. I was really upset. I, you know, told my parents, my family, and I called up Johns Hopkins, which specializes in this issue. And I just made an appointment with the surgeon, like the earliest I could get. I didn't even know what was involved really. I just called up the hospital. I said, get me with the vascular department, get me on the schedule. You know, we'll schedule a consultation. Let's just go. You know, the orthopedist told me it's life-threatening. I've got to get it done. So that was the end of September before Rosh Hashanah. And then come around November, November 2nd, I think, or the very first week, I went for the consultation. And keep in mind, I work in Washington, D.C. I've been at my job for a year and a half. Really just like settled into town in Washington, D.C. Got my friends, just everything's going great. And I go for the consultation, and the surgeon, who's like world-renowned, people come from all around the country, everywhere to see him. And he did the same test with me that the surgeon did with me. And he was instantly, he goes, no, you know, I don't know why he says life-threatening. It's just it's the neurological issue, because with thoracic outlet syndrome, I said the nerves and the arteries are pinched. So you'll see, like in baseball players, if it's the arteries, that's like a, you know, blood flow issue. And if it's your nerves, it's not as dangerous because you're not going to get a clot. So he knew right away, as the specialist, that it was more of the nerves and not necessarily the arteries that were the issue. So he told me I didn't have to have the surgery because it was scheduled for 4 days after the consultation. He said, you know, and this is November, he said you could wait until the summer to do it. You don't have to do it now. But I already scheduled it, and I already told my job that I was going to be taking 6 weeks off for surgery and for physical therapy, and I already booked it. And this guy is very hard to get a slot with, so I just said, let's do it. I'm here. You know, I want to get it over with. This has been bothering me for years, and I can't take it anymore. It distracts me. It hurts. So I had the surgery on Monday morning. I left work. I was terrified. I told my job, like, I'm going to be out for 6 weeks. You know, most people there don't take a vacation for more than a week and a half. And I was relatively new there. So I had the surgery on Monday, and then everything went great. It was a very quick surgery. I came out fine. I woke up. They told me I was like one of their best patients. Like, my body responded very well. They took out my first rib. They removed the first rib up here to create like a space. And we were supposed to be out of the hospital the next morning to be discharged. And it was great. I was super relaxed. My parents were there, and that was it. And Monday night, I was sleeping, and the doctor came in and woke me up like in the middle of the night with like 2 other staffers or something. And they just came in the middle of the night, and they were like, you know, we saw something a little weird on your x-ray after your surgery, and you know, we need to, you know, good news, bad news, like everything went well, but something doesn't look right. and your surgeon's going to come in tomorrow morning and talk to you. And I went back to sleep. And then the next morning, the surgeon came in and he was like, good news, bad news. Something looked a little weird on your x-ray. Everything went fine with the surgery, but we need to do a CT scan just to kind of check things out. So that's Tuesday morning. And this is 2 years ago. So I was 20. I just turned 27. And they do the CT scan, and we're just hanging out, like waiting to leave the hospital, and with my parents. And then just another doctor comes in, and actually, all the staff there were great. One of the doctors comes in, and he says, hey, good news, bad news, like everything went well with your surgery, but we, got your CT scans, and it looks like it could be cancer. And he said, it looks like lymphoma, because there was like a mass, like in the middle of my chest, like a black spot on the x-ray. And he's like, we need to do more testing because we don't know, but this is just from the CT scan. And so it could take up to 2 weeks to get the test because you have to schedule, when you go home, you should call the hospital, all this stuff. And we were there, and my parents were like, we're not leaving until we get this done. And, they said, we want to help. We don't know. There's no point. There's no slots, there's no slots. So Tuesday passes, and Wednesday morning, sorry, just someone keeps calling me. I'm just sending a quick text message just to respond to them. And so next morning,
were you still in the I'm sorry, were you still in the hospital?
Rabbi,
Yes.
something came. I have to finish up some work before midnight, but thank you, and Baruch Hashem, thank you for the great conversation tonight.
So
were you still in the hospital,
yeah,
or had they discharged you?
Yeah, no, still in the hospital. So my dad had donated to the hospital years earlier because he did a lot of breast cancer work. And anyway, we're in the hospital. He's trying to pull strings. We're just calling everybody. And the next day, I just really didn't know what to do. I mean, I'm in the hospital bed. Like, I just had my shoulder surgery. I wasn't really moving around. So, I mean, I was moving around, but not a lot. And I had to get a PET scan and a biopsy, but there were no openings. So the next day, I just went on YouTube, or I think it was on Tuesday. I went on YouTube and I just typed in like Judaism and health, or just whatever it was, something like that. And the first video that popped up was it was like a breast lift video. It was like 1.5 minutes or something. And the guy said, when people get sick or something happens, what's the first thing they do? They try to find, the best doctors, and they just constantly looking, who's the best? Oh, can you refer me to somebody? What do we do? Like, and you put all your faith in the medical staff. And only after all hope fails and you're not sure what else to do, then you turn to Hashem, right? And he said, the first thing you should do is turn to Hashem. Don't rely on, man. Don't try and find the right doctor. Just ask Hashem for help. And the next day, I remember I was just saying Tehillim all morning. I was literally, any prayer I knew, I was reading it. I said like Hamotzi. I said whatever. I don't know. I was just saying everything. And,
whatever started with Baruch Atah Adonai and ended
exactly.
with Amen.
Whatever it was, And keep in mind, the doctor who came in and said that it looked like I had cancer, his name was Dr. Enuma, and it's the same words of Amuna.
Yeah.
And it was flipped around, And I thought his name was Amuna at first when I saw his badge. I was like, what? But the next day I was reading everything. I was reading Tehillim, and in the middle of reading Tehillim, the hospital staff just came in the room and they said that there was a cancellation and they took me right away to get a biopsy, like on the spot. And then they said I still had to get a PET scan, and yeah, I have to go home and reschedule that. And I just kept praying. I remember I called Rabbi Orthman, and he was, he's like, did you give tzedakah yet today? And I didn't do that yet. So I was processing. I was literally typing in tzedakah to Chabad FSU, Rabbi and Rebbetzin. And as I was putting in the information, right as I was like about to hit send on the donation, my mom was like, "Oh, I'll be right back. I want to get a coffee." And she opened the door to our hospital room, to the room, and they were standing there with a wheelchair. And the staff was like, the spot just opened up magically. Like, we have to take you right now or you're going to miss it. And
For the PET scan.
Yeah, this was like in the same morning. And so then I went for the PET scan and had all the tests done. And I don't know, I just remember walking around with my mom in the hospital and just thinking to myself, this is so insane. Like, I've always been a healthy person. How this, if this is what it is, like, there's got to be something. It's got to be something good here, because it just can't be this. Like, I don't feel like this is the end of my life. It was just so surreal, and it was really hard, and at the same time, like, very easy, because it made me realize like how out of control, life is, and anything could happen. And it was just such hashgacha that I had this issue here, which really wasn't like, ended up not being like such a big deal, but it was like a little thing that like protected me from something much worse. And the orthopedist who told me it was life-threatening, it really wasn't life-threatening, that
right.
And I wouldn't have scheduled that surgery so rapidly if he didn't say that to me. And turned out that I got the results back that same week on Friday, like right before Shabbat was starting. Like, literally, they called me right before, and they said that it was early stage 2A, early stage. Oh, my dad, it's Rabbi Orthman.
Rabbi, I'm sorry, I'm not wearing proper shoes.
Yeah.
All good. All right.
So they said it was early stage Hodgkin's lymphoma, and that, it was like, it's like the most curable form of cancer. And the next week I was already at New York University, because my aunt's a doctor there, and my parents knew people. And within like 1 week I had surgery. I found out I had cancer. I was at NYU to get consultation, and then a week later I was like starting chemotherapy, and I was only supposed to be out of work for 6 weeks. And over the course of like these 7 months, I was getting treatment, and I went home and lived with my sister and my brother-in-law and their 4 kids and my parents for like 7 months. I had disability insurance from work. Everything was paid for. I had nothing to worry about. My job was completely supportive. All of my friends and family, thousands of people were praying for me. Everybody was visiting me. I started a blog. I documented everything. I shared with everybody. Rabbi Orthman and I were learning like every week on Skype, and it was just like a real gift to go through that and see like how Hashem controls things. And kind of going to what you were saying about being happy when you have every reason to not be happy, like in Judaism, when someone passes away, like you sit Shiva for 7 days, right? 7.
Right.
And like there's designated times for sadness, but sadness that goes on too long, it turns into depression or misery or suffering. That's like the Yetzer Hara in you that's trying to pull you down. And like, if Hashem can do good things for you, then you can't remove him from the picture when something that looks bad happens to you, because then that's almost like an idolatry, because you're almost saying like Hashem's here sometimes, but he's not here other times. And so if you realize he's everything and he's everywhere and he's influencing your whole life, then it's like impossible to not look at something bad and think, I'm just not seeing the good here because of my limited understanding. And so like when I was thankful for what I was going through, even though I had every reason to be angry and bitter, like so many good things came to me. And it was like a really like special experience for me. And like whenever I have a hard time with anything now, I like think back to what I went through and like how merciful, you know, Hashem is, even when something doesn't look good. And I got so much out of it. And I feel like it like propelled my life, like it propelled my like maturity, like 10 years in a week, you know? And
Yes.
so I just decided that I wanted to see the good in it. And that was my decision, that no matter how bad it would get at times, like I would still just try and see the good and be thankful. And like that really helped reframe the way I look at everything in my life. And so when something bad happens, or like the world looks like it's upside down, you know, these are times when just it's like beyond our comprehension that Hashem runs things in such a way that when you like surrender, then when you stop trying to understand it and you just surrender yourself, it like almost paradoxically opens you up to like unlimited understanding, because your human mind isn't trying to justify or rationalize anger and sadness and fear, and it's just you have that like yirat shamayim, you have like the awe where you're not like afraid of Hashem, or it's not like a lightning bolt got thrown at me, but I thought like, wow, this is so insane. And I have so many blessings coming to me right now that I just have to get out of the way. And you know, when I did that, it just opened me up and helped me for the rest of my life up until this point to see the good and to be happy when things don't always look so great. And so that's the trick, is that when you can be thankful for Hashem in the bad times, because you realize the bad is such a concealed good, then it brings you closer to Hashem, because it's like a parent and the child, you know? If the parent reprimands the child, how amazing would it be if like my 4-year-old niece thanked my sister for being punished for like taking candy from her sister, so that she wouldn't grow up and turn into a mismanaged adult. You know? So, you know, that's like a very rudimentary way to look at it, but I think that I wouldn't be who I am today if I hadn't have had that experience, and I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't wish that I didn't have it, because it helped make me who I am. And I could see how Hashem had the hidden good there, and like, and it just was very, very powerful experience. And I just try and share. And when I got my clean bill of health, it was on the birthday of the Baal Shem Tov.
Chayelu.
Yeah, Chayelu. Then the hospital called me and said you're good to go. You know, which was like
Baruch Hashem,
pretty wild.
that you're well. Baruch Hashem,
you,
and
Baruch
I'm
Hashem.
so happy for you. And I appreciate you telling me. I really
Chaim,
appreciate you
Chaim.
sharing this.
Chaim.
Okay,
Thank you.
Chaim. and I'm really very touched that you shared this with me. And I myself, what I want to say is, number one, that concept, and I don't like saying concept because it's I mean, you're living it. you've lived it, so it's not a concept, it's a fact. But I can relate it, when you have to, when you hear the stories of people forgiving, the worst of the worst, something that's happened to your child by, somebody that's committed the crime or something. If you don't forgive, you're not freeing yourself. And I get that. And I have a very similar story to yours, because if my father would not have passed away, then I would not have found out that I had cancer. That was stage 3 at the age of 35, that I found out that I was given you were given the clean bill of health on your birthday, or on the Baal Shem Tov's birthday. I was given the news that I had cancer on my birthday. I always say, I had cancer. I only know that I had cancer for about a week and a half, because they gave it to me and then they took it away real quickly. So I was, but then what the chemotherapy did to me, physically, I'm quite ill. I just had a surgery 2 weeks ago, and I completed 6 surgeries last year, and I have 24 lifetime surgeries that have only happened within the past 10 years. That the chemo caused a disease in my bones, and I'm quite sick from it. So now my thought is not to take away from the joyous story that you have just told, and the very touching story that you have just told, but I wish that I can have an end. I wish that I could give an end to my story at this point, because it's not ending. I keep having surgeries. I keep finding out. It keeps happening. This is years already. I'm home for 8 years. I had to leave my job. I couldn't work anymore. I'm on disability. But yeah, if this didn't happen, then I wouldn't have found out about this bad thing, which I was able to, save my life. But then this happened on top of it because of that. And then if it didn't happen, it didn't save my life. And I'm generally a very, very happy person. Schneer knows this. But and I was asked, and the reason that I asked that question was not really necessarily for a personal reason, but I'm dealing with things the way that I deal with them. But just for anybody on the whole. But yeah, I'm waiting for my time, that somebody can just say, okay, you're done with surgeries forever, this and that, and
It's a l'chaim that Sarah about the Malka. You should be done with the surgeries forever. Only good things, only blessings. Tonight, it's Yartzheit. It's a nice Hasidic Farbrengen, and we sit together, and that's the night to wish blessings and to wish good things. So l'chaim, l'chaim.
L'chaim, l'chaim.
Yeah,
nice, really good story. It's not a story. Thank you. Story just means. Don't make him sing along, guys. Dance, do something.
You know, that's the thing what Daniel is saying is very powerful words that you look back, you know, at some challenging times that we have in our life, we look back at the past and we see how Hashem have taken care of us the same way that Hashem has taken care of us in the past, the same way Hashem will take care of us in the future. So we don't have to worry, you know, we have to think good, we have to believe that Hashem, everything that Hashem is doing is for good. You know, obviously it's a high level, it requires learning a lot, it requires davening, it requires a connection with Hashem, not coming like as magic to nobody, even to me, you know, you got to keep on nourishing it. The faith is something that needs to be kept nourished. And the only way to nourishing our faith is to learning about these ideas and concept of faith in God and trust in God. The whole concept is trust in God and faith in God is at times that we don't see how things in our life go the right way, when we don't seem to find solutions to problem, when it seems like, you know, I'll tell you something, if I would have to try to make our existence in Tallahassee something which is understandable, something which is to bring it into nature, it's never would never work, can never work, and never will work. It doesn't have understanding in nature. It doesn't have an explanation. It doesn't have, you know, you know, we started deal with a budget of $50,000-$70,000. Now we're running a budget of over $650,000 a year. You know, Baruch Hashem, we have gone and gone and gone, and I just don't know how it's happening. I don't know. And if I'm trying to think about, you know, and you know, make it a place and think about it, how it's all going to work within nature, it doesn't. I don't know. I can't think. You just have to know that Hashem is taking care of us, and you know, just like He took care of us last week, last year, the year before that, He will take care of us this year, next week. You know, a Jew is above the nature. We're not thinking about. It says that when a Jew, be two types of Jews. Be one Jew who is planting a seed in the ground and believes in God that the seed will grow. But as much as he believes in God, he also understands that God sends His blessing through nature. So he also put emphasis on nature as well. There's nature and there's God. God's blessing comes through nature. When nature is shaking, that type of Jew is fearful. When the world is a corona and this and that, you know, he's fearful because nature is shaking, even though he believes in God. But there is a Jew who plants in the ground but doesn't put any emphasis on the planting. He knows it's all come from God. The planting is meaningless. He has to do it just because God says to do plant, so he plants. But really, the blessing is only coming from God. And that type of Jew, you know, when the world is shaking, he's not impressed with that. I don't care if the world is shaking. I have to do what I got to do. You know, when I come to work on fundraising, if I would have to think about, you know, in my mind, where is all the money that I need is going to come from, I'm not going to even start fundraising because I don't see where it's going to come from. I have no idea where it's going to come from. But I do my part. I do my work. I put in the vessel. I put in the blessings. You know, just like with Shmuley, you know, and then Hashem sends His blessing. We just have to do our part and realize that it's really the blessing comes from Hashem. We don't have to be responsible for the result. We don't have to think about the result. The result is Hashem responsible for. We are responsible by creating the vessel. And the vessel has to be a clean vessel, meaning that it's clean of deceiving, and that is clean of that it is done in a kosher way, the way Hashem wants. And once we do the proper vessel, the way Hashem wants, following His rules in the Torah, then Hashem sends His blessings. And we don't have to think, does it has a place in nature? Could it work? Should it work? You know, would it work? We would make all this calculation. We'd never come to Tallahassee. We'd never stay in Tallahassee. We'd never buy the first Chabad house, the second Chabad. You know, we'd never do any of the things that we're going to do. And the problem is that once you do it, and once you try to put Hashem in the flame, to put Hashem into this flame of nature, and says you try to put God into a box, you know, it doesn't work. You can't put God into a box. We don't create boxes into God and say He has to come into this box. You know, God has to come. God will come the way He comes, the way He knows how to come. He knows what to do, how to do it. We just have to do our vessel for the blessings. You know, whether it's in health, whether it's in wealth, whatever it is. and then we have to have faith in Hashem. And faith in Hashem is only, real faith is only when in nature we see no ways for where the blessing will come from. When there is corona, when there is financial difficulties in the world, when there is all this, riots and this and that and things you don't know, where will my blessing come from? And you will realize that this is what Hashem wants. Hashem wants this to happen. Hashem is guiding the world. Hashem is directing the world right now. That's our mission, is to live in this world. It says that our generation is the generation of the desert. It's a reincarnation of the generation in the desert. And in the generation of the desert, you find something very interesting. You find the generation of the desert that people were, no matter how much miracles they saw from God in their own eyes, they kept questioning, they kept asking, did God come through? Will he come through? We can't go to Israel, we can't do this, we can't. So we in our life, we also see miracles, and our God guides us and directs us and give us life and give us health and give us wealth, give us everything we need. And we keep questioning, we keep asking, it's like the story I want to share, one of my favorite stories, that there was a Yid who once left his town to go make a living elsewhere, and he traveled far away, and he collected a lot of money, and he had 3 bags, a bag of gold coins, a bag of silver coins, and a bag of copper coins. And on the way back traveling home, he had to stop by for a Shabbos in a certain place. And they told him in the city that there's a wealthy man in the city who hosts people very nicely for Shabbat, and he's very trustworthy. He should go spend the Shabbos by him. So he goes to spend Shabbos by this wealthy man, and before Shabbos, he comes to him and he said, will you do me a favor? I have these 3 bags of coins that I've collected, accumulated over the year. Can I put them in your safe? And he said, of course, yes. So he put it there. And then when Shabbos comes in and comes by the night, the services, and the davening and the meal, and he sees that his host is very, very happy. He's singing and he's davening, and he thinks to himself, why is the guy so happy? Must be that he stole my money. And that's why he's so happy. So as the Shabbos go on, the guy gets more frustrated and more bitter and this and that, and he can't stop thinking about how the guy stole all his money. At the end of Shabbos, he comes right to him and says, okay, where's my money? So the wealthy man walks into the safe. He opens up the safe, and he tells him, oh, go look here. And he sees the 3 bags, but he said, no. He said, wait a second, before I go, let me count, make sure you didn't take anything from here. So he counts the bag of golden coins one by one, and the wealthy man is sitting there, is standing there, is watching him. He sees nothing is missing. He goes on to count the bag of silver coins, and he sees nothing is missing. And the wealthy man is watching. Then he comes into the copper coins, to the cheapest coin, and he wants to count his bag. The wealthy man says, Atkan, up to here. I'm not allowing you to count these bags. He said, what do you mean? Why not? He said, think about it. If I have not stolen anything from your bag of gold coins, and I have not stolen anything from your silver coins, do you think I'm so stupid to steal anything from your, from your copper coins? So the guy who said the story, the person who said the story, said, this is a mashal, this is an analogy, it's powerful. We wake up every morning, and Hashem give us back the bag of gold coins. Hashem give us our health. And we wake up and Hashem give us our gold, our silver coins. Hashem, we're healthy, we are happy, we're able to move our body, we're able to go on, we're able to, what are we worried about? We're worried about, could Hashem give us the bag of copper coins? Could Hashem give me my money? Could he give me my parnasa? Could he give me my livelihood? Could he give me this? Can we worried and we're anxious and we're this and we're that? You have to realize that Hashem is great, and Hashem is big, and Hashem is powerful, and Hashem Almighty God, and you don't have to worry, we don't have to be anxious, we don't have to put God into a box. We have to just realize that we have a great Hashem, and Hashem put in His world, and Moshe Rabbeinu, Hashem sent us the Rebbe in our generation, and the Rebbe is connecting us with Hashem, and the Rebbe is awakening our spirit, our emunah, our faith, and strengthening our faith, that we should internalize it. And we should every day be very happy and be very lucky to be blessed to live in this time. Because if we live in this time, it's a special mission that Hashem sent us. Hashem give us the strength. Hashem give us the koyach. Hashem give us the ability to go through everything that we're going through. Because and wherever we are, that's what we need to be. Because that's what Hashem wants us. And I could ask myself, and I could say to Hashem, why have you given me out of my 11 children 10 boys? Couldn't you stick some girls in the middle to make it a little bit easier? You know, boys. I remember me and my older brother fighting all the time. So imagine you have you know, a couple of boys, one after another. You know, each one is fighting with the other. Each one is, you know, there. So couldn't you just put some girls in the middle and make it a little, you know, easier, you know?
And we need kitchen help.
You think?
Kitchen help. You think, yeah, that's right. Maybe not, but the girls are not so easy. I get it. But the point is that Hashem knows what He's doing. Hashem sends every person what he can handle. And what we can handle, and what we need to do, and anything that we deal with is the mission that Hashem give us, and Hashem guide us, and Hashem direct us, and we can do it. L'chaim, l'chaim.
L'chaim. L'chaim. Okay, I'm sorry, I have to go. I got a message from Adam. I need to run.
Bye. It's good to see you,
Bye,
everybody.
Thank you, Daniel. Continued good health.
Yeah.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. All right, everybody, have a good night, and have you know, we'll just finish up with Farbrengen with watching a short, quick video from the Rebbe here. Hold on 1 second. Share the screen here. 1 second. Share the screen here.
Rabbi, are you open for Shabbat already or not yet?
Yeah, we're not advertising this, but yes, we're here Friday night and Shabbat day, yeah.
You see, I'm a split. I'm a father of a finished FSU student, but then we have a Rabbi Goldman over at the UF.
Oh, nice.
And my son had a surgery at the UF Shands.
Oh, wow.
So Rabbi Aaron, I don't know if you know Rabbi Aaron.
Yeah, of course.
He came to the hotel for the 2 or 3 Fridays with their Shabbat bag, you know, with the challah and the hamantashen and all that stuff. It was great.
Wow.
Good, you know, I don't know how people do it without Chabad. I know some universities do not have Chabad for Jewish students, even though sometimes you're a little disappointed for the amount of people that show up. But for the few that needs it, even in the holidays and Passover and stuff like that, it's, you know, just the fact that you have a place and they need it, you know, that is great. They don't appreciate it. You know when they appreciate? When they become Daniel age, when they get older and they leave. Then you see, 7 years later, they still remember the rabbi.
Danny?
Yeah.
Briut.
Sorry, it wasn't.
Don't drink so fast.
Don't drink so much l'chaim.
Warte mich ad Mose und verwose Tischke wie Kinevur Baruch ad Mose Tachlish und Gomes Tischke und Yonim Velayishon v'chulu und Kimeduver Baruch und das was sagte nede Stilem auf dem Mizbech. Aber jeden nicht das, als jeden beweisen an den Nebischen, wie Adam wie einer was halt biodik war Jochel. Und vierten, was darf tun, und als sie sagen zum Nebischen, als Leon will ich noch damit sie Bayitkat, ki Yoshen Havaye, und als jechet, wer sagt, nede still, Malakosu, und so, was jeden Mannen, die Gejula, kommt das noch früher, wie sie wohl gekommen, Belagerhochi. Und nicht der Linie, was man montas, ist das Linien, von Chas Visholem nicht auf die Teile, aber das hat Ziele Achteire, was hat Tom gesagt, alle die Harsche Knesses Agdele, aber so davnen und monnen und betten, es Zimmer David darf sich nicht stammt als mir, nur soll sein Hero, und soll leicht sein in der Neffen, aber Bechol hat je, ist die Schwester Kevinu, die Chela Sache, was schon gesagt, im selben Tag, zweimal, weiß wird sagen, auf morgen in der Früh weiter einmal, und nachher für kein Tore nicht durchlassen, kein und einzige Tfilo, auch mit Mannen, und betten bei den Lebischen noch einmal, hat Mosai Tachlis mit Fischkeit mit aller Schäne. Und wie hier was in Apolki, was auch nicht, Aline, was wird hereingerechnet in mir nach Mitzvahs. Aber man soll sagen, es Zimmer David Ardecher. Jachad im selber, wie der Rambam ist mit Wein, der Mitzvahs hat viele, als der Mitzvahs essen in der Teile. Aber ich habe es Ayid, viel Person Feldpepes, ist der Mitzvahs essen in der Teile. Soll beten, mit Spalle sein. Beim Lebischen, soll normal sein, bei Koschos, normal sein, Zroche. Es eben nur ein feldige Urlaub, hat ein Mitzvahs essen in der Teile. Soll mit Spalle sein, bechol es mit Zeh. Wenn sie nur als Mann viele, der Rebische soll normal sein, Zroche. Und nachdem, als Bett bei den Lebischen, der Rebische soll gerne Reviche in den Sehnen. Und Reviche in der Chaie, Apolki, was hat, beziehungsweise Bechule. Viele haben das gebereit, für Lebezinzung. Und auch die Teile darf gar nicht werden. Und jeder Ried, wie die Gemara sagt, in Baba Messie, ist Bedürfnis von Blöd, ist Ben Avram, Yitzchak, wie Yankiv, darf ihm der Rebischter zustellen, zu der Schleime Bescheid. Allah es kam, als sich werden in der Giula. Und hat betucht, als sichere Sache, als wird kommen in die Giula. Aber was ist betucht, als es kommen übermorgen, als kommt Person, als kommen morgen. Und noch mehr, über die Twellen kann sein Person, als kommen heim. Und ich sage den Rambam, als Helam, Jiro Odom Asmi Shoko, Bechol Helam Kuli Shoko, und in Madgish Bose, als darf sein, als Kol Ashono, nicht nur die Meeres Ashono, Yemei Hadi. In der Rambam Madgish, als darf sein, Kol Yemei Ashono. Darf sich sein Shoko, Bechol Helam Kuli Shoko. Und als Mitzvah Achas, und damit Machria Asme, Bechol Helam Kuli. Und wie der Rambam mit der noch Mamschich, was kommt von der riesigen Welt, Levi Yeshua Vatzol. Allah es kam in Azami Ninyan, wie Gula Hamitis war schlimm, alle dem Mashiach Zipkenu. Was wie der Rambam, wie die Gmorre sagt, und der Rambam passen das. Als ich Ticho Tere, als ich soll lesen Shuva Besev HaGolus. Und wie ja der Heinig Golim, und mit der Tere, das mehr nicht wie Abtoche. Wer darf es aber tun, die Sache befehlt, als ich soll essen Schuhe. Und wie der Pastus hat worden, was ich dich erzähle, der Pfarrer Stele, der Asides, und sie weiß, als in Zman Hagolus, wird kommen dann noch, der Zman Hagolus, wird Tele 7 Tun Schuhe. Und hat damit in die Jahre Gole.
Basically, we have to ask for Mashiach, you know? L'chaim, everyone. Have a good night. Let's be Mashiach now, today. Not tomorrow, today.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom. It's good to see you, everyone.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Gracias, parents. Take us down. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.